I want to welcome our next guest on the program and a friend of the Institute, both the company he represents and Greg himself. But welcome to the program, Greg Licata, VP of Product Development, DataPath. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning. Happy to be here. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. Good to have you here, and good to talk to you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Greg, for our audience that may not know DataPath, just give a brief overview on DataPath and your position in this space, please.
Sure. DataPath is principally a software company, and we market our services and systems principally to benefit TPAs and those that are focused on the consumer-directed healthcare space. What we typically think of serving those markets is FSAs, HRAs, HSAs. We also have a significant presence in the Cobra retiree and direct billing market. So that's typically those are typically the solutions we offer. We also offer virtual payments for workers' comp and group health payments and so on. But I think for the most part, your audience listening in would know DataPath principally for its CDH-based solutions, being sold to benefits TPAs.
Yeah. And Greg, talk a little bit about what you and the team there see as the opportunities, challenges in the growth of CDH.
Yeah. Well, I'd say the exciting thing about the space right now is that in the last year or two we've seen growth that we hadn't seen historically, and I don't know. I think lots of folks have had rosy projections for the marketplace, and the projections for HSAs have always been strong, but for the most part it was at the expense of FSAs, right?
Yep.
What's been really nice for us is that we're seeing general growth in the market. HSAs, we don't have a situation where we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? We're seeing significant growth in the HSA space, but we're also seeing significant growth in FSAs as well. So the market as a whole is growing, not just a particular benefit type or segment of the market. So that's been exciting for us to see that double-digit growth across the board.
Yeah.
So I'm bullish on the market. We haven't peaked yet by any means from a benefits account perspective. So I think it's a good time to be in the space.
Yeah, I think you make a good point there too about the fact that there's no, at least right now, there's not any robbing Peter to pay Paul. We see HSAs growing and projected to grow both inside and outside of exchange. I think a lot of people talk a lot about the exchange and dramatic growth, but outside of exchanges, there's a big population that's moving to full replacement HSA programs, and FSA to a mid-size to large company is going to remain a very vibrant part of that offering, as you're pointing out.
Right, HSAs, it's been a point of emphasis for us from a product perspective, but carryover for FSAs have given us a nice lift there too. So some really good organic growth there that we hadn't been counting on. So again, from a market perspective, I think that's been great. Yeah, I think everybody's been bullish on HSAs as they should be, right? It's an exciting product and lots of growth still to come. But the and we've got quite a bit of HRAs on our platform. It's one of the things our platform's known for, and HRAs have been growing as well. And again, I think lots of folks were projecting not the demise of HRAs, but again a decline, and we just haven't seen it yet. So from that perspective, it's been great.
HRAs are still that first step that companies can take in moving towards more of a healthcare consumerism initiative, and then we'll see if it transcends onto HSAs. A lot of us believe that, but I think more and more companies are taking that first step. Greg, from your standpoint as a technology and software company, what are the opportunities and challenges that the market needs to understand about where systems are today and where systems may be changing?
Yeah, what's been interesting is to see that the market shift from as far as the players in the software space. As compared to when I broke into the market, I broke into this particular niche of the business about 15 years ago, and the pool of players on the software side was quite a bit larger, right? So that if you were a TPA or a health plan looking to administer benefits, your options, you had a much broader menu of choices here to pick from. But we're really seeing a downsizing from the number of options that are available. But the flip side to that, though, I think, is the folks that remain in the market are invested in the market like they never have been in the past. So a little bit of good and bad there. It's good from my perspective. There are fewer competitors out there for me to have to worry about, but yet the competition out there is strong. So I think there's a little bit of good and bad if you're a TPA or an employer in the space. Again, there's less choice, but the choices you do have are really strong choices, and we see a lot of folks that are still in the market. DataPath, we've got considerable investment in our web-based platforms moving forward, and our competition is continuing to invest as well. So I think from a platform perspective, you're seeing some really good, strong options out there, and they're focused on addressing growth like they hadn't necessarily been in the past. I think there's more investment in the platforms than there had been in the past, even though there are fewer players.
Hey, Greg, TPAs are really a strong market for you guys, and you just alluded to some of the challenges, opportunity of TPAs. What else do you see happening? With this growth moving, what's the impact on the TPA market, from your seat?
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, on the positive side, there's growth, so there's more opportunity to be had. But, we're also seeing a lot of consolidation. So, for us, there's always some good and bad in that. And that, when one of our customers are the acquirers, that's terrific, right? We see some, growth, unexpected growth when one of our TPAs acquires another one and puts that business on our platform. But we also have the flip side of that as well, certainly. So we see some of our business lost through acquisition as well. So that's having a big impact in the market. And up until now, I don't think systems have really been in place to address it as effectively as it should be. So some of those conversions haven't gone all that well. Whether it be one of our TPAs acquiring somebody else or one of our competitors. So I'm not singling anybody out here. It's just a difficult process trying to, acquire or being acquired and having, and being able to integrate your business or integrate somebody else's business into yours seamlessly has been a real challenge. And the systems haven't really been in place to do that. We've made big strides in that area in our new web-based platform. That's a particular point of emphasis for us. And I'm sure you're going to see that from others in the market as well because, again, I don't see the acquisition cycle slowing down.
No, I don't either. I mean,
right.
I
given
think
the growth in the market, right, these folks are now more attractive than ever, right? So.
Yeah. Do you see TPAs being pushed but also embracing the exchange model to include in their offering?
I do, but to be honest, I think, we haven't jumped in, head first into the exchange, into the exchange market for reasons. We're waiting to see exactly where this is going to go and how it's going to play out for our TPAs. And I think
good luck with that.
Right.
Good luck with that, Greg.
Right. A lot of our TPAs are saying the same thing, right? Which is, what's my role here in that space? And so, one, you can't sit on the sidelines forever, or people are just going to certainly pass you by. So we made investments in our platforms to enable our TPAs to get into that space. And so we're looking to position our TPAs so that they can play and partner with exchanges and set themselves up. One, I think there's an opportunity to take on benefit administration of the CDH accounts that come through that process, but there's also an opportunity for TPAs to be the back end for the exchange, right? So if they've got a premium billing management system, I see there's a great opportunity for them to partner with the exchange, right? So if you've got an exchange that's functioning as your front end and decision support tools and so on, there needs to be a billing mechanism behind that. And so
that's a critical element.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's not the flashy piece, right? So there's nothing exciting about moving money and collecting premiums, but it's got to be done. And so, I think it's important that we position TPAs to play in that space, and that's what we have, and we know there are others who are doing that as well. So for TPAs looking to get into the space, I think that's, if they're still trying to question, well, where do I fit here, there's always an opportunity to fit that in that niche, right, which is continued administration of the billing and function as that back end for exchange. That's an easy entry. So as long as there are exchanges out there, they're going to need a billing component to it, and our TPAs can fill that role. So there's certainly roles for them.
Greg, this is Andrew. I'm always curious about how product development executives make decisions when, especially in a market like this where things change so fast. And I was noticing on your website there's a statement, creating solutions by listening to those who need them. So listening is obviously key for any product development. Can you unpack that a little bit and give us a sense for, what are you listening for, and how are you going about listening? How do you make decisions based on that listening about where you spend your time with DataPath's product features and offerings?
Yeah. Well, I think there are a couple of things you can do. One, you can try and pick a direction, right? If you can try and take an educated guess as to where a market's going to head and put all your eggs in that basket and run down that path, right? And hopefully you get it right, and at least half the time you're not. You can assume, right? So that's one strategy is listen to the market and try and decipher where you think it's going to go and head down that path. Or another path you can take is trying to understand the market, listening to what's there, and trying to decipher that. Whether it goes a little bit further to the left or a little bit further to the right, there's still a need somewhere in the center. And that's where I was referencing that, positioning our TPAs to handle the back-end administration of an exchange. So whether an exchange, like I said, depending on exactly, I think the exchange market is here to stay. That's my personal opinion. But exactly what form and shape that takes is a little unknown. So can you find a spot that says, well, again, whether it turns a little left or right, is there still a common component that's necessary there, and can we fill that? Can we play in that space there, and can we set up our TPAs to play in that space so that we don't want to set them up to fail. So if we guess and send them down a path and guess incorrectly, we've set up our TPAs to fail. So for me, it's important to try and determine what's a safe harbor for our TPAs, and you don't want to be too conservative, right? You want to lead the market to an extent, and you have to pick your spots to be able to do that and do that wisely. But when you're spending the bulk of your time and resources, you want to find some place where you can fit your TPAs comfortably and know they can do well and succeed. So with respect to the exchange market, that's how we've positioned ourselves and positioned our TPAs so that regardless of the direction, they're going to be successful.
Greg, listen, we're coming up to the end of the segment, and I want to give you a chance to kind of wrap this, but also, as part of the wrap, talk a little bit about ACA and Cobra. Cobra's kind of that quiet entity that causes some real challenges for the employers and administrators out there. So
right. Yeah, it's been, you want to call it a little bit of a double-edged sword here in the sense that ACA has the Cobra volume as a result has increased. Which I think seems counterintuitive to everybody that, with the exchanges, you'll have less enrollment and, less people electing Cobra because you've got the exchange option, but it actually generates a lot more upfront activity. So our Cobra platforms are actually seeing more usage than they ever have, even though enrollments are actually down slightly over the last couple of years. So for us, again, it's been nice to see. In that, again, you typically would be worried about enrollments, but the activity as a whole, when you factor these two things in together, all the initial upfront notices and so on that are mandated, that activity is actually increased usage on our platforms and all the platforms in the market, which will have the same type of experience. So it's been good, I think, for Cobra administrators that activity is offsetting some of the decline in enrollment, and we don't see a deep dive in enrollments going forward. At some point, we think that'll level off at an acceptable level and again, be offset by that initial activity. So it's been, it was a little nerve-wracking in the early days, but I think we're excited about where we think this is going to level off and the amount of activity out there for TPA. So it's still a really good market for them to be in.
Greg, listen, I really appreciate your time on the program today, and you have a good weekend in Little Rock, and we'll see you real soon, okay?
Sounds good, Doug, Andrew. Thanks a lot. I appreciate the time.